What's up guys, my name is Phil. Welcome back to Miranda Detailing. Today's video, we are working on this awesome 2018 Ford Raptor. So guys, the Raptor is in for our Platinum. So that is going to be a full interior and exterior detail plus a paint enhancement polish and sealant and leather and fabric protection. So when it comes to the leather and fabric protection for the inside, we have a couple different choices for the leather. For the carpets, I've been using the 303 Fabric Guard right up there. That stuff is great. It does have a strong smell, but it is a strong product. So it's gonna give the carpets water repellency and stain repellency. It's black carpets anyway, but it's still good practice to do that just because you're going to be making the carpets so much easier to clean next time. For the leather, we have a couple different choices. We do have the Melco leather coat. We also have Geon leather shield and a few other different coatings that we use for the leather. So we'll show you what we use for this job. As far as the exterior goes, it does need a full wash, of course. The Decon, he just bought it from a dealership, so we're gonna see what they installed as far as swirls and things. We already kind of did a little assessment on it and noticed there were some areas that were buffed and the paint is pretty thin on it. So we're going to show you basically what we use to show the thinness of the paint and then what we're going to do with that, because we really can't compound anything heavily, but that's okay. It's not in for a paint correction, just a paint enhancement. So that's okay. So let's get started on this thing. We're going to show you the befores. It really isn't in bad condition. So let's take a look. But before we do that, please consider subscribing and clicking that bell so you don't miss stuff. Okay guys, so we have washed, we have deconned, we have rinsed, and now we're blow drying. We're using this guy right here. This is the Adams Air Cannon Junior. This thing is incredibly powerful. It has a really long cord, which is great, and it also has a long blower nozzle. This actually shrinks down to about half when it's not on, but this thing is extremely powerful and really loud. I can't really even get too close because it's so loud. And this is the Air Cannon Junior. So they have the full-size version of this thing. I can't imagine how powerful that would be. But so far, it's awesome for drying the paint, and we're able to blow out all the cracks and crevices and blow the wheels and the tires dry, the plastic pieces nice and bone dry so we can apply our dressing. Yep, this thing is awesome. When we're done with that, we're gonna pull it in, and then we're going to finish in the garage. So the Raptor is pulled in, and we decided to do the interior out here because it's such a nice day. We have better natural light. It's better to see in the vehicle. So the interior is all cleaned, and now we are on to protecting all of the trim. And again, we're using a product that is a little unorthodox to use because they discontinued this product and it was supposed to be used for paint, but nobody ever liked it for paint. We didn't, but it looked like a trim protectant. So we use it on the trim and it does a great job. And if it does get onto the paint, you can just wipe it off. Same with on the glass, not a big deal. It'll wipe right off, but it's too oily of a product just to use on the paint alone. But the product kind of looks like Black Wow Pro or the Black Wow products that are designed for trim. So we use it on the trim and look at the results. Now, does it last as long? With trim products, it's kind of a difficult thing because it depends on the trim, depends on the type of plastic that we're dealing with, the type of rubber. So this here is more rubberized than this plastic here. So it absorbs it at a different rate, and sometimes it looks good and it stays on there for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and other times it washes off. It all depends. But we have found this stuff to at least last a few weeks, if not more. But it all depends on how it's maintained. If you're washing your vehicle gently and not running it through any type of car washes with harsh soaps, then you'll be fine. pH neutral soaps on this are great. So there's a lot of plastic here, and look how it's dressing it up. It gets into all the textured pieces. It looks really nice once it dries down. So next we will be doing a paint enhancement on the paint, and we have to notice a couple of different things on here before I take some measurements. When you are polishing a vehicle like this, you need to assess the vehicle and look at all the different materials. So we're dealing with regular paint here, of course, but when we look at the fenders, these are separate fenders. They're not all one piece is what I mean by that. And it's a satin finish. So the customer brought out this scratch here. I can't do anything about that, unfortunately. If you polish this, it shines it up, or it could cause damage. So it's not supposed to be glossy, it's supposed to be satin. So unfortunately, when we have damage on pieces like this, they have to be replaced. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. So bring that out to the customer and make sure they know that you can't do anything with pieces like this. You can see the finish from gloss paint to satin finish. So unfortunately, we can't do anything about that. We don't even polish this. We're just going to clean it, and then we're going to apply the sealant right on top of it. Same goes with the satin finish vinyl graphics here. It's a really cool texture to it. It's not really a texture, it's just these little tiny dots. It's completely flat. You don't feel that. But you have to take into consideration these as well. When you see scratches in here and, you know, damage, there's nothing you can do. This would have to be ripped off and re-put back on. That's the only way that you're going to deal with that. So you have to make sure to tell the customer when they see damage in the vinyl. You can't do anything about that, unfortunately. So we're going to focus on the paint. This will get protected, but it won't get polished. So same with all the plastics here, all of this textured plastic. This will be treated, but of course, you don't polish that. Same goes with the front grille pieces here. This will be protected, but they're a matte finish or a satin finish, just like the fenders. But let's look at the paint, and I have my paint depth gauge here just to get an idea of how much paint we're dealing with. Oh, and you know what? I believe the front end here is fiberglass because it's not reading it. Yep, the rest of it, as we get into the door panels, whoa. Yeah, I took readings on this with the customer to let them know, and some portions of this were repainted and potentially compounded excessively because the readings are low, very, very low. So you do not want to compound this excessively. And since I can't do any readings on the front hood and the fenders, I really have to tread carefully. So only a light polish. That's it. Look how low these numbers are. And that's all around the vehicle. There's some areas that are a little higher. They read up to 5 mils. But generally, look at that. The average seems to be about 3.5, 3 3/4. That is not good. So it is good to have one of these. This is only a $100 unit right here. It's good to have one of these just to check to see how much paint we're dealing with. And this is the total of the primer, the color, and clear coat. Generally, you're looking at 4+ mils of everything, all those layers. But when you see this, when it's below 4, you know you maybe only have 1.5 mils, maybe 1 3/4 of clear coat on top. Generally, it's about 2 mils of clear coat on the top. So these readings are very, very low. We have to go with something very gentle, maybe just an all-in-one like 3D Speed, or maybe the Max Shine all-in-one polish, or the Meguiar ceramic polish and wax. Or we can go with something like 3D1, where we just use an orange pad. It's a medium cut pad, so it's not going to be a heavy cut. And this acts as a light compound or polish. So this might work, or we have some other choices, but we can't go too heavy because of the low readings. But let's choose a product, and then we'll do some tests and see how the paint is going to react. So guys, I'm going to start right here, my usual spot. We're going to do a little test panel here. Ooh, I already spotted a dust nib right up here on the hood. I'll show you that in a moment. So what I'm going to try first is Extreme Solutions Ice. Now this stuff, it is the LVR 367. It is a polish. So let's try this out with the orange Lake Country pad, my SPTA cordless polisher, just to show you guys what it can do. Throughout the video, my wife is most likely going to use this, and I'm going to use something else because she loves the cordless polisher. But let's hit this spot right now, and we'll show you some before and afters. Now I'm treading lightly on this paint because it is thin. The gloss it produces is great. And it really does smell good. The scent on this is almost like a coconutty frosting type of scent. Really nice and kind of a nice sweet smell to it. So let's see how well that did. And if we need to go further, then we'll go further. But if not, then we'll leave it as is and we'll go from there. I think it did a really nice job though. There's a little bit of residue. It's a little, this paint is a little funky to deal with. Yeah, it left a lot of residue. So thinking this paint is pretty finicky, but let me show you what it did. So before and then after. So you see we have that residue that we're dealing with. So this paint is kind of finicky. You can see beyond that and you see that it did polish it nicely. But yeah, see, this is pretty rough looking here, and then it gets better, but I'm dealing with a little bit of a weird residue here. That's probably just the paint itself. It's really annoying. And I think these were repainted panels. Let me test it here, see if it makes a difference. Oh, and before I go any further, that dust nib is right there. Yep, you see it right there in the light. It's right in that curve. So that right there that you're seeing, that's a dust nib. So that's a clear sign of it being repainted. Sometimes it's from factory, but that's usually a sign of it being repainted. So yeah, right there, that's that dust nib. All right, guys, so we had to work the polish a little bit longer than usual, but here's before, here's after. Yeah, dramatic, right? That's what we're looking for. So, oh, see right there, a little bit of residue from the pad, from the polish, but that's okay, that'll be removed. It's just sticking to the paint. This is kind of a weird paint. It does seem to stick to it a little bit more than usual. But that's the finish we're going for. So we'll use the Extreme Solutions Ice, and we might use a little bit of a different polish here and there, but that's primarily what we're going to use. It was working really, really well. All right, so good. Let us produce this finish over the entire vehicle. We're going to polish everything, and then we'll show you the afters, and then we'll go into what sealant we're going to use. Boo! So we switched over to 3D1. Now the ice did work in removing holograms and the swirls. However, it was a little finicky on this paint. But that's just the way it goes. Sometimes you do a test spot and you gotta try something else. So we switched over to 3D1 and wow, yeah, that is working much better on this paint. Now I've used the ice before on other paint and it produced incredible results. That's not a knock on the product because sometimes we've used 3D1 and it was too aggressive for soft paint. So we had to use something like the ice or whatever other products that we used. So that stuff might work better on softer paint. It was just reacting kind of weird on this paint here. Now we are dealing with fiberglass. This is fiberglass that we're dealing with up here, either fiberglass or carbon fiber. I don't know what they're using for the new Ford Raptors. Probably someone knows, but I couldn't take readings of it, on it. So obviously it's plastic, or it's fiberglass, whatever. It's not metal. It's not aluminum and it's not steel. The rest of it is most likely aluminum. I was able to take the readings on it, but the fender and the hood I couldn't. So I had to tread carefully. But look at the before. That's what the paint looked like before. And now after. Oh yeah, so much better. Now yes, it's gonna have little defects in it. Look past those. It's a paint enhancement, not a correction. That's the overall effect, is when you look at it with the lights like this, it's not gonna look horrible like it did before. And especially over here, this is untouched, this is unpolished. It looks really bad. And you'll see when we start working down the sides, they're extremely bad. So let's continue polishing. She's going to be on the passenger side. I'm working on the driver's side. And then I'll most likely do the top. And then we'll get to all the other little bits. There's a lot of weird curves here. These pieces that I need to hit with the other small polisher or just by hand. So we'll get to those as well. So guys, how do we deal with this type of stuff? Well, you just saw I went over it gently. Now I used the little SPTA cordless polisher here, the little 1-inch polisher, and I'm using a soft foam pad, and I use a little bit of the Sonax Perfect Finish. This is nice and gentle. It's not going to harm anything. And I went right over the vinyl. It's okay to do that. Don't freak out. It's not a big deal. I'm not putting pressure. I'm not compounding. I'm just lightly getting to this paint here to polish it, to shine it up. So now you can see it's super glossy under there. Now, is it completely defect free? No, of course not. I'm not going to attack it any more than that, because you can risk damage if you attack it with compounds and really go at it heavily. If you want to do it, go right ahead. If you want to get the little tiny polisher to get in there, you go right ahead, but charge accordingly. That's a lot of work. So you can quickly go over it with the little 1-inch polisher, and you can go over the vinyl. It's completely fine. Just use a little bit of spray detailer. I use a little bit of Kinetic from Total Detailing. It's great for polish removal. Does it have a little bit of polymers in it? Sure it does. It's fine. It's perfect for wiping off the residue off of here, and look at the results. Nothing super shiny. It didn't ruin anything, but it glossed up the paint underneath. Now that looks much better. All right, good. So we're almost finishing up here. She's done with that side. I still have to do a little bit of the top because it does have a huge panoramic sunroof. So, you know, we only have to do around the edges there. And she's doing a little bit of the front parts of the grill, and we'll almost be done. So the pillars really came out great. I'm not going to go too crazy on them. They are wrecked. They're really, really bad. But we definitely went as far as we could polishing them to make them look better. And I believe maybe that side did get repainted, like the portion of the door or that fender, because there's a lot of solvent pop. Solvent pop means these little tiny dots that look like overspray dots, but they're not overspray dots. It's actually solvent pop. You see those little dots in there, those specks? So basically that comes from either too much solvent in the clear, too much reducer, something in the clear coat. It messed up, and all these little bubbles form at the top of the surface, and they pop, and they basically produce this they produce this effect where it's like little tiny pin drops or pin points in the clear coat. Yes, I said little pin drops, the little pin drops. So yeah, not much you can do about that. I'm not going to go ahead and wet sand this out, so don't even suggest that. That's stupid. This paint is very, very thin. So we just have to live with that. But of course, we communicate that to the customer. But there are portions of this that were repainted, so we're just going to have to live with some of those things. But overall, look how nice, whoops, there we go. Look how nice the paint looks, though. Way better than before. We got rid of all of that heavy, heavy swirling and buffer trails. Oh yeah, it was a big mess. So, oh, there's a little swipe mark there. That's not a problem. We'll wipe that down. But overall, way, way better than it was before. Yes, looking really, really good. All right, so we're almost done here. Just finishing that end up there. And then we're going to get to protecting it. Well guys, we discovered something. I'm not exactly sure where all of the repainting was, but I definitely saw it up here. Oh, look how bad that is. Yeah, so that's really dry clear coat. They just didn't spray it well, and they faded it like up into here, and it just looks bad. So there's more like overspray up there. They didn't paint up here, so they didn't do the whole roof. They just did this section badly and then faded it into here, and there's overspray everywhere. So unfortunately I can't do anything about that. A bad paint job is a bad paint job. You know, you could wet sand that, but again, when I took measurements, the paint was so thin. They did not do a good job of repainting this and putting enough clear to be able to sand it down. Horrible job, guys. Oh, body shops. But at least the rest of this is now polished. It's looking good. It's super glossy. We got the majority of the heavy swirls out. Let's get to using some protection. That didn't sound right. We're going to use Puris, the Jade A70, their ceramic detail spray. So this is basically like a spray coating. It's very similar to the Wolfgang Uber ceramic spray coating. I put it almost on the same level as that. Same application, very easy. We just use a little square applicator like this. And then one towel is all you need. It wipes off very easily. So that's what we're going to use. We spray it right onto the pad, not onto the paint. I apply this like a true ceramic coating. Same application. You can use 2 towels if you want, but it's so easily removed. It levels out and flashes away so quickly that you don't really need to worry about using 2 towels. So let's just show you how it looks right here. So with the spray, I'm going to apply it onto the applicator like this, off camera so I don't get any overspray. So just 2 spritz, and I apply it onto the surface just like a coating. And it goes on very smooth, very easy, just like a true ceramic coating. And it flashes away really quick, and you barely even have to wait. I don't even wait. I'm just gonna wipe it right off, level it all out, and that's pretty much all you need to do. And it flashes away, goes away, perfect. Really nice. Now, you will notice it's slightly grabby. That's the nature of the coating. Now, what about the vinyl? It's totally fine for vinyl. I'm gonna do the whole strip here. It's going to add protection. It'll bead water. It's completely safe, completely fine. It's not going to ruin anything. It'll start to flash away, and then you just kind of help it with the towel. And it does make it look richer. It doesn't make it glossy. It just makes it look darker and richer. But again, extremely easy. So what are you doing, hun? Ah, okay. Tire bomb and protectant from 303. Yeah, we really do like this stuff. Works well even for big knobby tires. We use just that that little polishing pad. Is that what you're using? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mush it in there.
Yep. Works into all the nooks and crannies of the giant truck tires. Really nice look. Uh-huh. 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 All right, guys, we are on to interior protection now, and we're using G-Technic Leather Guard for all of the leather. This stuff is really nice to use. It is a leather coating, and it's one of the easiest to apply. It basically sprays right onto the applicator, and you apply it to the leather generously, and you can basically just let it dry. It kind of dries on its own, and you don't see it at all on the leather. If you do see a little bit of residual, you can wipe it down with a towel, but generally it just soaks into the leather, it cures, and you're good to go. So you can use this on all of the leather, plastic, vinyl, everything. They do have another product called Matte Dash or something like that, but that's really not needed. That stuff does the same thing. There's no matte to it, there's no shine to it at all. It's just a matte finish, and you can apply it to everything. It's really, really nice. So you can see it here. It was applied to the centerpiece here, and it's already starting to dry off. And when it dries completely, it will look like there's nothing there. So awesome product. We are nearing the conclusion of this job. We still have to spray the fabric guard on the carpets, but that goes quickly, and then we just put a fan in there to dry it. But check out the paint. Oh, I do need to wipe that down, but I'm letting it soak in as long as possible. But the paint looks incredible. Wheels and tires are done. And man, this thing looks so glossy. Really awesome finish. Really reduced the swirls in it as well. It looks incredible. So this Raptor is ready to attack. Oh, that was so corny. Aside from the repaints and some of the defects and scratches and things like that, you know, when it comes to a used vehicle, overlook that. That really isn't that much of a big deal. As long as there's nothing too deep that has gouged into the paint or really dented into the paint, if it's just in the clear coat and it's polished and it doesn't look as bad, then I try to tell people to live with that type of stuff. Don't try to remove everything and compound everything in wet sand to get it all out because you compromise the clear. And again, the clear coat on this was so thin, we don't want to go any further than we need to. Don't go as far as to compromise the paint. It's just not safe. Go as far as you can, reasonably and safely, to make it look incredible. So guys, if you're interested in any of the products that you're seeing us use, products, tools, whatever, check out Car Supply's warehouse, and all of the links will be down below, and they'll go to either Car Supply's warehouse or Amazon or AliExpress. Either of those places, you can look up any of the tools and the products that we use and purchase those for yourself. So let's move on to fabric protection. So 303 fabric guard in here, and I missed it onto all of the fabric, all the carpet, obviously. And if it gets onto the plastics, I will wipe it off, but be generous with spraying it onto the carpet. A light mist. You can brush it in if you want, but I like to leave it on the surface. There's different techniques for different products, and from what I have read, you're supposed to simply leave it on the carpet like this and let it dry. But you can choose to do whichever you want. But if you wipe it off the surface, you're fine. Wipe it off any petals or anything like that. It's not going to make them slippery. It's okay. But that's it. Leave it, let it dry. So with the back seats here, I'm going to lift them up. There's a lot of real estate going on back here. I know it's dark, sorry about that. Let me open the other door. Light! There we go. You can see that much better. So again, mist onto all of the fabric. If you have a good sprayer nozzle, you can have really good control and not have it just go everywhere. Even the back of the leather seats, you can mist it on. And then just wipe it off. Any overspray will be fine. Not going to harm anything. But you don't want to let it sit like that. But if you wipe it off fast enough, not a problem. But you can see it go onto the fabric, going onto the top of the fabric. And it'll attach to the little fibers, making them water resistant, stain resistant, all of that good stuff. And you can not drench it, but make sure it's well covered. Make sure there's full coverage all the way into there. Make sure to wipe down the sides and all the plastics. I do it twice like that just to make sure it's all covered. It's looking good. So the fabric is now done. I just have my fan blowing everything dry. Let it dry completely before you put any mats down. And let the customer know it is going to kind of smell for maybe a day or two. It takes a while for that smell to dissipate. But, you know, that's the price you have to pay for putting any type of fabric protection in the vehicle. Ideally, this would be great to sit overnight. But if it's a one-day job like we're doing here, dry it as quickly as possible. Or if you're doing this on site as a mobile service, then just tell the customer that it's going to have that smell in it. And if they can resist driving it for a day, that would be better. Let it just air out with doors open like this. It's better to have it outside and do that, but I didn't want to pull anything out just yet. Just keep it in here, let it dry, and then we'll be done. But guys, this thing is looking incredible. We're pretty much finished now, and all that's left is just drying time. So the customer will be here in about an hour and a half or so to pick up the truck, and he's gonna love it. It looks so, so good. So this Raptor is ready to attack. Oh, it's so corny. Stop it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks for either mobile detailing or in a garage setup like we have here. We can pretty much do both, but primarily we've been working out of our garage because of the whole thing that's going on right now. But it really is better for the customer. Mobile is great, but eventually that starts to wear on you, and we've been doing it for 11 years. And now that we have a garage, we'd rather have customers come here. Not only is it more comfortable for us to work out of our garage, but really, you get better results. We don't have to work in the crazy elements. We have everything here at our disposal. You drop the vehicle off for the entire day. Even if the job only takes 2, 3, 4 hours, it doesn't matter. We'll spend as many hours as it takes here because we're taking our time, we're filming it. We're using all sorts of awesome products on the vehicle. So really, you get a better result when you bring it here to our facility. And if you're enjoying the videos, and I hope you are, consider subscribing and clicking that bell so you don't miss stuff. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great week. Take care.